English Teacher, Part 116. Critical Thinking. The critical thinking begins with an attitude of inquiry, willingness to consider, in a thoughtful and perceptive way, a comprehensive variety of subjects and problems. All teachers should consider, model, emphasize, and encourage this attitude. The process of critical thinking involves fair-minded interpretation, analysis, and evaluation of information, arguments, and experiences. It also involves the use of a set of reflective attitudes, skills, and abilities that guide thoughts, beliefs, and actions. Specific inquiry skills indispensable to effective critical thinking, as suggested in part by Aldrich et al. 1985, are as follows: observing, classifying, using numbers, measuring, relating space and time, predicting, interfering, defining provisionally, forming hypotheses, interpreting data, controlling variables, experimenting, communicating. Critical thinking skills should be taught through curricula and provide a variety of content areas in ways that are true to the way problems appear in our everyday lives. Through practicing these skills, students should learn to distinguish between verifiable facts and value claims, determine the reliability of a claim or a source, determine the accuracy of a statement, distinguish between warranted and unwarranted claims, distinguish between relevant and irrelevant information, claims, or arguments, detect biases, identify stated and unstated assumptions, identify ambiguous or equivocal claims or arguments, recognize illogicalities in a line of reasoning and determine the strength of an argument. Critical thinking also requires development of a set of attitudes that need to be taught. Intellectual curiosity, for example, stimulates critical thinking by motivating students to seek answers to various kinds of questions and problems through investigating the cases. Through investigating the causes and explanation of events. Lead questions should often begin with the interrogative words such as why, who, what, when, and where. Critical thinkers avoid holding inflexible to dogmatic attitudes and rigid views. They show respect for others' viewpoints and listening carefully and responding accurately to their words. They are willing to admit that they may be wrong and that the others may be right. They are intellectually honest, accepting statements as true when there is sufficient evidence, even though such statements may negate cherished beliefs and not slanting facts to support particular positions. They are constructively skeptical, reasoning systematically and consistently to form a conclusion only when it is supported by adequate evidence. They are open to new answers and willing to change points of views or methods of inquiry. Critical thinking requires objective decision makers to rely on empirical experiential evidence and on the objective factors, and not to form decisions solely on the basis of emotive and subjective factors. They must consider all factors of situations with an open mind, supporting certain points of the view but continuing to seek evidence and arguments. They must take into account the possibility that of any wide variety of beliefs may be true and consider the evidence without bias or prejudice, while avoiding irrelevancies that would obscure issues. They must avoid unnecessary lengthy arguments on one hand and snap judgment on the other, persisting in seeking ways of resolving disputes but reaching a conclusion as soon as evidence warrants. The students are unlikely to transfer critical thinking skills to everyday life, even to other subjects, unless you deliberately point out transfer possibilities, encourage them to seek transfer past critical thinking procedures to new situations.